Welcome back to the Aces Let's Do It podcast. I'm your host, Dominic Archer, and before we get anything, I just want to apologize about the echo in the room. Had to change rooms for this week, but next week should be back in our normal location. So I just wanted to start it off by apologizing for that, but let's get right into the sports. So last week, big week in the NFL. Bears made a quarterback switch. They went from Mitch Trubisky to Nick Foles, pretty big. Mitch has had his ups and downs as a Bear, and it looks like the end of the Mitch era has come. Nick Foles looked really good in his quarter and a half or whatever it is. He threw, I think, 3 touchdowns and made a couple of nice plays to Anthony Miller. So I think that connection is really going to start to heat up. And for the Falcons, first time since 2007, going 0-3, they've blown 2 massive leads. Dan Quinn's on the hot seat. No other way to cut it. Thursday night game, Dolphins beat the Jags. Pretty, abysmal performance from Gardner Minshew. Feel bad for them. I predicted it. Rams and Bills were a shootout. Bills looked like they were running away with this game and then kind of faltered there at the end. And a couple of plays went their way. So the Rams were unfortunate. And they weren't able to come up with some big plays, and they ended up losing the game. The Washington football team lost to the Browns 34-20. Baker Mayfield's looking really good, so hopefully he can turn his career trajectory around. He had a really good rookie year and a bad second year, so maybe now under Stefanski he's going to start turning things around. The Titans squeaked past the Vikings. First time since 2008 they're 3-0, and I really like the way that team is constructed. Derrick Henry might not be getting the touchdowns and the publicity, but he's more of a second half player. He really explodes in the second half of the season. So, for right now, it's very good that they're 3-0, and just wait. Derrick Henry will explode at some point this season. So I think the Titans are going to be fine. The Patriots going up against the Raiders. They took a win. Cam Newton is looking very comfortable in this Bill Belichick offense. He has been, has been able to do things with Cam that he wasn't necessarily able to with Tom Brady, and it's opened up his playbook. I guarantee you his playbook went from about 3 inches thick to about 5 inches thick. With Cam's mobility and athleticism coming into the mix, that adds a lot more to his play calling, and Josh McDaniels is licking his chops. 49ers beat the Giants. We all knew this was going to happen, 36-9. Giants are just not very good. Joe Judge has got a tough task in front of him. I really do believe in Danny Dimes. I think he's going to be a really good player for a long time. He just doesn't have a very good offense around him. And with the loss of Saquon Barkley, it's going to even be tougher on him. We have our first tie of the year, Eagles and Bengals. Joe Burrow is looking really good, although he got walloped in this game. One of the biggest hits I've seen in a few years. And if he wants to continue being as good as he is, Zach Taylor is going to have to do something about this offensive line. Jonah Williams is a very good player, but this is like his rookie year. He was injured all last year, so we don't really know about him. And outside of the center, this is not a very good offensive line, and he's getting killed out there. So Zach Taylor really needs to do something about the offensive line. Texans lose to the Steelers. They have just had a rough start to the year. They first had to go up against Patrick Mahomes, and then Lamar Jackson, and now Big Ben. It doesn't get any easier for the Texans, and I feel really bad for Deshaun because he's really good. And that's no knock on the Steelers. The Steelers are really, really good. They may have one of the better defenses in the league, period. Jets lost to the Colts. Same thing as the Giants. The Jets are not a very good football team. Adam Gase, his seat is hot. Needs to be cut, fired, whatever. Not allowed to get back into the Jets practice facilities. He has just not been very good. And Sam Darnold is suffering from that. The Colts, however, they benefit from this. Philip Rivers looking really good. They're 2-1. Frank Reich is one of the better head coaches in the NFL, and he doesn't get enough recognition for that. What he did with Carson Wentz when he was in Philadelphia was unheard of. Well, maybe not unheard of, but we see now that Carson Wentz is not an MVP caliber quarterback right now, but he was with Frank Reich. So if they can draft a quarterback, they do have Jacob Eason on the roster, so maybe they're grooming him to be a very good quarterback. But until then, it's Philip Rivers' show, and he's looking really good. Panthers won against the Chargers. This Chargers team, I think, is They're probably going to be somewhere around 9-7, 8-8, and I only say that because they do have a rookie quarterback, and it's unfortunate what happened to Tyrod Taylor. But the fact of the matter is, they drafted this guy 10th overall. Justin Herbert has looked, pretty good, I would say, in his 2 starts. He definitely have some rookie mistakes, but I watched him against Wisconsin last year in the Rose Bowl, and he was very athletic. So he's going to be able to have a shot to do some of the things that Tyrod Taylor can do. Tyrod Taylor, of course, is this running quarterback who makes plays with his legs, and Justin Herbert can do that. And I think he's going to be a very good player in this league. And they also have a very good defense. So Chargers fans, I wouldn't worry about the 1-2 start. If you get to 1-4, then you might have to worry. But I don't think this team is going to be a bad team, but I also don't think they're going to be the best team in the league either. And good news for Matt Rule to get his first win in the NFL. Lions won for the first time in almost a calendar year against the Cardinals. I wouldn't panic if I was a Cardinals fan or Cliff Kingsbury. Can't win them all. Kyler did have some mistakes, but up until this point he was almost flawless. So you're going to have those games. So I would not be shocked, or maybe not shocked, but I wouldn't be. What's the word? I wouldn't be scared. I think they're going to be fine. Kenyon Drake has done good. The offensive line is held up, and Kyler is very good. So, Tampa Bay won. They're 2-1 over I wouldn't say disappointing Broncos team, but you feel really bad. Drew Lock goes down. Cortland Sutton goes down. Von Miller goes down. I mean, those are 3 key pieces to your team right there, and it's very disappointing because this Broncos team did have a lot of potential this year. They could make a run for second in the West, the AFC. So, man, and I really like Drew Lock. I think he's going to be a starting caliber quarterback, and he's got weapons around him. And it's just so, I wouldn't say heartbreaking, but it's not fun to see that. And then Russell Wilson doing Russell Wilson things. They're 3-0 right now. They have I would say a decent offensive line. It's probably the best one he's had in years. They picked up that guy from LSU. His name is escaping me right now, but he plays guard, and he's a very good run blocker. And that's what this team is doing. They want to run the football, but they have DK Metcalf. He did make a stupid mistake last week, but he's very good. They have Tyler Lockett, who's really good, and they also have Greg Olsen. So they do have weapons on offense, and Russ is eating. He is my pick for MVP right now. And then the Sunday night game, Packers-Saints. Packers squeak past the Saints 37-30. Aaron Rodgers doing Aaron Rodgers things. Alan Lazard stepped up big. Aaron Jones did some good things. And the defense made stops when they needed it, and that was very important. Father Time is not kind to a lot of people, and I wouldn't hit the panic button yet, but if we have another Drew Brees performance like this one where he can't drive the ball downfield and just checks it down. Now, although, Elvin Kamara is very good in that role, if you can't push the ball down the field, you're going to have a very difficult time scoring points late in games when you're down by 1 or 2 scores. And we've never seen this from Drew Brees. And now I know if you look at the stats, he hasn't been throwing the ball deep the last 7 years. But that's just because they've been a very good team. And without Michael Thomas, they just haven't been able to click on offensively. And then Monday night, this was a very good game. The score is 34-20, but up until I think the fourth quarter, because I think Kansas City scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, this was neck and neck. But we can clearly see who the number 1 team is in the AFC and probably in the NFL. The Chiefs are a very good team, and they have a very underrated defense. They're not the best in the league, but they're definitely not the worst. Steve Spagnuolo has done a wonderful job with the defense. They have some really good players. D Ford and Chris Jones definitely front that defense. And Ravens fans, you're going to be fine. You're going to win the East, barring injury to any big players. Big Ben and them boys, they're going to make a run, but I truly do believe that this Ravens team is going to beat up on them. Lamar is just so dynamic. He's having some trouble maybe this year with passing, but only give him a few weeks. Get his rhythm right. This hasn't been a normal year for anybody. I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but this is clearly a team that is very good and will definitely make a run for the AFC Championship game. And then we're just going to quickly talk about next week's games, Broncos-Jets. It's 0-3. Thursday nights have not been very good teams playing off. I might look at the Jets getting their first win. Denver is just a mess right now. Heading over to Sunday's game, Carolina and Arizona. Going Arizona. Matt Rule's got a good team, but they're very unexperienced on defense, and I think Kyler's going to exploit that. Bears and Colts, I'm taking the Colts. Yeah, they made the switch to Foles, and they've looked somewhat good, but there's no way that they're beating this Colts team. This Colts team is going to be very good. Jags and Bengals, I'm taking the Bengals here. Joe Burrow's made some very big plays. I think Joe Mixon's going to be very good this week, and the defense, I think, is going to make some adjustments. Now that they've been in 3 weeks, they have a lot of tape to see, where they went wrong. I think they might get it done. Jacksonville they don't have an identity yet, and that's it's not very good when you're trying to make a playoff run. And maybe Gardner isn't the guy. Cowboys, Browns, going the Browns. Baker's been absolutely lights out the last 2 weeks, and I think he's going to continue that. That this Cowboys this Cowboys defense has not been particularly good the last couple of weeks. And I think Kevin Stefanski is a really good play caller, and he's going to make some plays. And Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb are smash and dash. They are a very dynamic duo, so they're going to make this Cowboys defense look silly, I believe. Saints and Lions, both are 1-2. But the Saints have not lost 3 straight games since 2016. So I'm going with Drew Brees and Sean Payton. There's no way that they lose 3 in a row. I don't believe it, even if they can't throw the ball downfield. I think Kamara and the underneath passing game is going to make this Lions defense silly. And maybe if they do lose this week, maybe not this week, but definitely if they lose the next 2 weeks, Matt Patricia might be out. Houston and Minnesota head off at 12 o'clock in Houston. I'm going the Texans. They're just a better football team. Mike Zimmer's got his hands full with a bunch of young corners. I just don't believe that they're going to be very good this year. The Vikings, that is. Seahawks and Dolphins, no question. It's going to be Seahawks. Chargers, Bucks. I think it's going to be the Bucks. I would like to see Justin Herbert step up. But Bruce Arians has got himself a very good defense, and I think it's going to be very difficult for him to do so. The criticisms for him is that he can't read a defense very well. And if that is true, this Buccaneers team is going to take advantage of that. Steelers, Titans, this is going to be my pick for game of the week. This is going to be a scrappy, hard-nosed, this is going to be a tough game to watch. It's going to be a very physical game at the line of scrimmage. So, Tennessee wants to run the football down the throats of people, and the Steelers are built to stop the run. I mean, look what they did against Saquon. Saquon, I think, had somewhere around the realm of 20 yards receiving and 6 yards rushing. This is going to be a very good game. So that's my pick for the game of the week. And then the Washington football team going up against the Ravens. It's the Ravens. This Washington football team is all over the place. Is Haskins the guy? I don't think so. They do have a couple of playmakers. Antonio Gibson looks like a very good player. They have scary Terry McLaurin, and they're changing the culture. So Ron Verscott definitely has his hands full. Giants, Rams, no question, Rams. This Giants team is probably going to go 2-14, 3-13. Patriots, Chiefs. Now this might rival the Tennessee Pittsburgh game for game of the week. Every time I've seen this game, it's been head to head, and they've always shown up. I remember a couple of years ago, I think Kansas City won 45-30. I mean, it's going to be a high scoring game. I think the defense is going to struggle against, obviously the potent passing attack of Kansas City, but on the other side, the Patriots do have a very good run game, and this is going to be a very good game to watch. Might be a lot of points scored. Bills and Raiders. I'm picking the Bills. Josh Allen looks very good. I wouldn't call him MVP caliber yet. If he does light this Raiders defense up, now you can make the argument that the Raiders don't have the best defense, but if he puts up 300 yards, scores 4 touchdowns, and doesn't throw an interception, you definitely have to put him in the conversation. Eagles and 49ers. 49ers are banged up on defense, and they've kind of had a cakewalk the last 2 weeks, so this might be their first real challenge. Now, I know Philadelphia is kind of in limbo right now, but I do think they do have enough playmakers to make this 49ers defense worry. So I think I'm going to take the upset here, and I'm going to go with the Eagles. That's the Sunday night game. Then Monday night, Green Bay, Atlanta. I don't want to be biased here, but I think the Packers are going to win. This Atlanta Falcons team is just, they can score a lot of points, but for whatever reason, Dan Quinn does not want to run the football in crunch time. And so they keep making mistakes in the passing game and just leaving a bunch of time on the clock when they give the ball back, in key situations. And Green Bay's offense has just looked absolutely unstoppable the first 3 weeks. And Dan Quinn was supposed to be this defensive-minded head coach, but yet in the last couple of years, his defense can't hold up big leads. So I'm definitely picking the Packers here. I think the Packers are definitely one of the top 3 teams in the league, probably 4, behind Kansas City, Baltimore, Seattle, and I think that's when you get it in the Green Bay conversation as like the second best team in the NFC. So moving on to NHL, nothing really too much to talk about here. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning for winning the Stanley Cup, although they had to do it without Steven Stamkos, but Nikita Kucherov and Andrei Vasilevsky just got the job done. Hats off to them. They're a very good team, and they might make a run at it next year with a healthy Stamkos in the playoffs. Just got to touch on some things about the draft coming up. The draft is next week, so let's talk about it. No question, number 1, Alexis Lafreniere to the Rangers, and then I think it's pretty consensus that Quentin Byfield's probably going to go number 2. I'm going to talk about some other guys here. Chicago, Dylan Holloway, left wing from Wisconsin. I think they're going to go D-man. They're very weak on the D-man, and they do have some goal scorers on the bottom 6. Let's see here. San Jose again, Samuel Colangio, right wing. They do need some playmakers. I might make a post on the Instagram page, predicting certain things, but I think it's it's going to be a very interesting draft. Alexis Lafreniere, best player probably since Connor McJesus to come out. So New York Rangers fans, be very thankful that you're getting Alexis Lafreniere. So unfortunately, that's really all I have for hockey. Going to move over to the NBA. And now we all know the story here. This isn't a lot of big games. In the finals, it's Los Angeles and Miami, and Los Angeles won Game 1, 116-98. There's just so much talent here between AD and LeBron, and Alex Caruso. He's very good too. I think he's an underrated player. The Heat definitely have their handful. I like Jimmy Buckets. I like Tyler Herro. I got a lot of good players. Bam Adebayo. I think Los Angeles is going to edge it out. I think this might go to 6 games. I think Miami's good enough to scratch out 1 or 2 wins, but overall I think Los Angeles is just a better team, and they're going to be hoisting the trophy here at the end. And I just want to, put my hats off to LeBron making his 10th finals. So, you got to respect greatness. I don't think he's the greatest player of all time. I think he's the second greatest of all time behind Michael Jordan. But definitely got to take your hat off to him. He's had an outstanding career, no doubt, Hall of Fame. And then moving on to baseball, very exciting day in baseball. Yesterday we had the first games of the playoffs, and today we have the second games. And unfortunately, my Chicago Cubs lost 5-1 to the Miami Marlins. I was very annoyed. But Yu Darvish on the mound tomorrow, so I think they might come back and win. A lot of people were saying that this is just going to be a pushover match, but I wasn't believing it. When you look at, there's a reason why they're in the playoffs and the 2 seed in the East. They do have some guys who can hit the ball around the field. Jesus Aguilar kind of had a mysterious, season last year, but then he comes back and has a very good year. Atlanta walks it off against Cincinnati. Trevor Bauer pitched a very well pitched game. I think he had like 12 strikeouts in a scoreless frame. I mean, he's probably going to win the Cy Young. And then we have our first clincher. Houston is moving on. They beat Minnesota 3-1. Minnesota had a really bad inning or 2 on Tuesday, and that cost them the game. And for whatever reason, this is 18 straight games where Minnesota hasn't been able to close out the playoffs. Tampa Bay is up 2-0 on Toronto. I think Toronto is ahead of schedule. They're kind of like the White Sox in that regard. Toronto has a lot of good players. I think Bo Bichette's going to be better than Vlad Guerrero. Kevin Biggio's really good. They have Hyun-Jin Ryu, and they do have a couple of pitching prospects. Nate Peterson is very good. He's going to be a very good pitcher for a very long time. Oakland beat Chicago today, the White Sox, 5-3, so that series is tied up at one piece. St. Louis squeaked into the playoffs this year, and they won over San Diego. So that's very interesting because, they don't have Clevenger. The Padres don't. So I think St. Louis was able to capitalize on that. And, unfortunately, they had to play so many games in so many days, so they're a little depleted, but hats off to them to getting it done. Milwaukee is currently losing 3-2 to the Dodgers, and at the top of the ninth, it is 9-8 Cleveland. Yesterday, I think Shane Bieber got lit up, so Yankees won that game, and right now, Cleveland might tie this series up, and, this isn't a game 7, but it's an elimination game. Anything can happen in an elimination game. So the first 2 days of the MLB playoffs have definitely not disappointed. So if you're a fan of baseball, I would be very happy. A lot of games get played in the next week, so we'll definitely cover that next week. Sorry about the little shorter episode here today. It was a little crunched on time, and the NFL is really the only thing that has a lot of teams going right now. With the hockey season being over and the NBA Finals going on right now, there's just not a lot to talk about. Baseball, but half the teams were eliminated already, so that takes away half the games. So a little shorter episode this week. So I just want to thank you all for watching, and make sure you go check out the Instagram page at Aces Let's Do It. Put a lot of content over there, and make sure you like and subscribe and share to your friends who might want to listen to a new sports podcast. So without further ado, I want to thank you guys, and I'm Dominic Archer, and you've been listening to episode 3 of the Aces Let's Do It podcast.